I'm not in a good place while the rest of the country is not in a good place. I can't throw stones at police vehicles anymore, and I don't need a mandate from no one. We are more segregated now than what we were in the apartheid days. It was darts that made me get up in the morning.
Welcome back to the MODUS Super Series YouTube channel, where our latest edition of Tungsten Talk sees Simon Adams in the hot seat. Simon, great to see you once again here at the Super Series. You've become a real, almost a hero in this building over the last 6 months or so. The last few months must have been a bit of a whirlwind for yourself.
Well, firstly, I'm very grateful to be here. My mother always said, when you get invited to people's house, behave so well that they invite you back. So I'm so glad to be here. I'm so grateful. I think if one is more grateful for what you receive, you attract more blessings. You attract definitely more blessings. And you know, there's a time where I listened to a fantastic, not listened, I actually read the story. He said, if you have a cup of coffee in your hand and somebody bumps you, did you spill the coffee, or is it because of the bump? It's not because the person bumped you, it's the coffee you spilled because there's coffee in the cup. If it was tea in the cup, it will be tea you spilled. So when you're experiencing bumps in your life, what is it that you're going to spill? Is it gratitude? Is it kindness? Is it hatred? What is it? And I think the last few months, it's very trialing because you know, mental health is not just a bad thing that happens only once off. It's a continuous thing. And when you are unemployed and doesn't have a job like I did, you find reasons to get up in the morning, besides being spiritual and praying about it, because I believe there's a higher power controlling our lives. But it was darts that made me get up in the morning. It was darts that I had to go do at school, go see a principal, go convince this one and that one, how important it is for the kids to get involved, to have an exhibition at the school, recruiting them into the program. And people see finished goods when the school league is running. They don't know how much work that has gone into. And I think my works that I do and the positivity that I share out there follows my game. I still have to practice though. There's no use you do good in the community and you don't spend time with the hockey. And the same work that I do also, when I don't do well at the hockey, then I know, it's getting too much for me, it's getting to me. I need to manage it. There wasn't a balance this week, or there wasn't a balance today. So it's continuous learning. That's why I say it's an insult to an old dog if you can't learn new tricks. But it's been one of those things that you realize we all have a different timeline, man. Mm-hmm. You know, I know a guy that received his degree at 23 and he only got a job at 35. You know, and we all have different timelines. And I played darts for 45 years, and in the last year or so, all of this happened to me. Won the World Cup qualifier for Africa, the World Champs qualifier. Appeared in the finals of the World Cup qualifier, lost 8-7 after leading 7-4. And I don't believe it's luck that you aren't won it. It is fate that a young man like that from South Africa would win it. And I don't care about whether I'm old or young, because there's no capability. It's about the opportunity, taking it. If you have a chance to close the double, because your opposition is going to do that. And I'm just grateful. And being grateful means that I attract more blessings. And this moment is one of those blessings.
For you, Simon, your story is absolutely incredible. And for you, your story is not just yourself, but it's the whole African region. You're doing some work with the ADG, and they had their qualifiers recently for the MODUS Super Series. Just talk about where darts is at in the African continent at this present moment in time, and where the next steps are to grow the sport out there.
No, absolutely. I think what Devon and his team at the African Dart Group has brought to South Africa is definitely a game changer. Players in South Africa that really aspires to take the game to the next level, to compete and be rewarded for that. You know, because I mean, in the past, our options were limited to a national dart tournament. that you have to pay. You know, 10,000 rand is not a lot in pounds, but it's a hell of a lot for a dart player. And it's once a year that you will go and experience. Well, there's the odd competitions here and there. And if your region is small and you just have to compete with that group of people, there's not really growth in that. And I think what the African Dart Group is doing with the African continental tours, not just focusing on South Africa, but the whole African region. I mean, Kenya is involved. One year, my brother, there are dart players from Kenya. They can beat us any day. And it's the same thing I feel about the dart players in the townships where I come from. There are, and I want to be specific about this, there are players in our townships, and when I refer to our townships, I'm talking about black dart players. There are better players than what I am, but they're not given the opportunity to get out of that situation and into a formal structure. And with the darts in South Africa, that's even more divided now. It's just taking us back. Where you guys were with WDF and PDC and BDO 30 years ago, that's where we are in the country. And what Devon and Nicole and in Denver Apollos is doing is absolutely a game changer. 6 African continental tours, they're taking it all over the country. And I mean, the world PDC World Champ qualifier will be in Kenya. I'll have to travel there. They will have to travel down now that he has lost his tour card to come and compete with us. It'll be great, you know, and it will just raise the standard of darts in the country. And of course, while they focus on that, I focus on the grass. You know, I look after the grass. That's why I won't stop the fight to liberate all dart players in our country, because we are not, it doesn't matter how we see it, and it doesn't matter how we want to pussyfoot around it. It's not in me to do that. The reality is that we are more segregated now than what we were in the apartheid days. And if we have new challenges we face, we can't face it with the same toys we had. Toy is an African expression for resisting. You know, we can't address new challenges we face with old solutions. It doesn't work like that. There's a boardroom now, and we sit around and we sort things out, and we do things what is best for the people that we serve, not best for us. Because as soon as personal interest comes in, I know I'm drifting a bit, but this thing is very close to my heart, and it irks me. Yeah. It gives me sometimes sleepless nights. I'm not in a good place, while the rest of the country is not in a good place. And I will use every opportunity to highlight that and speak into the conscience of the people that leads us to make the right decisions for all of us. I mean, my friend Dion Oliver died a few months ago. Hey, I'm still very sad about it. I'm just thinking, man, friends of him that were friends with him for 30 years treated him like the plague for 2 years. And that's how long this has been going on. Sorry about that.
No, absolutely. Take your time.
And when he died, they all were at the funeral. And I was so disturbed and upset that it will take somebody to die first. And the fact that what we all had in common was the game, was darts. And the fact that they were his friends for 30 years and treated him like the plague for 2 years. I mean, they couldn't even come watch his game. They couldn't celebrate. And he was not just a player that played good darts. He was a good dart player because he had good character. He left a good legacy. And I just want to give credit and honor to him and the contribution that he made. And he's a great loss to the game. But even in a situation like this, that people are prepared to go to such an extent that they would divide people, that doesn't go well with me, my brother. So, and I don't need a mandate from no one. I don't need to be the president of the country to do what I do. I don't need to be the president of darts because we all are waiting to be in positions of power before we show. No. The position of power that you have is what you have in your hands. I have 3 arrows. I have this knowledge of the game. I have this corporate knowledge that I managed to gain over the years by working for fantastic companies. And I'm applying that in the community. I can't throw stones at police vehicles anymore. That is not needed. My toy days are over. My protest days are over. We have to use our skills and energy to spend more time with the youth, to spend more time with the future. And that is what I want to dedicate. That is how I want to honor Dion's life. And the fact that I'm here, I use this 5 minutes of fame. If I'm successful at the hockey, it is a bonus. Don't get me wrong, I play to win. But I want to gain enough respect and credibility to have an impact at home. And I also don't want to go cap in hand to people, but the playing fields are not leveled wherever you go. But the standard of the game is not going to be adjusted because you're from Africa. It's the players that set the tennis. Look at what Gary Anderson done the other day in his game. And he's almost just as old as I am. And we need to do everything in our power to close that gap. And not all of our kids in Africa will become doctors and pilots. And there's an opportunity to have a career in darts. And while the world needs a piece of paper, you can give that to the world. Go to the university, go to the college. How is our darts players going to get scholarships to go there? They must uproot themselves and do what Devon has done, apply the law of sacrifice, uproot yourself out of Africa and come here to the UK. And that takes a lot out of a person to do that, you know. But you know, the law of sacrifice, it only rewards you in the future.
And in terms of the African darts group, we're going to actually see its first qualifier come here in week 12 of the series. We see Kendrick Cordoon come here, somebody that you know very well. And the fact that there is a standalone qualifier to play in tournaments like this, you are the trailblazer as far as this is concerned. How important is it now to have this step where any player has the opportunity to play in a qualifier and play in a tournament like this? How important is that for the region?
I think it just creates more opportunity, and I want to thank everybody involved that really has opened those doors. Your leadership here at MODUS, with the request that came from Devon, and I mean the impact. I don't want to diminish the impact that I made and I had on here. I always try to downplay it, but I'm not going to be very modest about that, because it is how we behaved here, it is how we performed here that opened the doors. And this young man has such a fantastic backstory. And I think with a lot of interventions from Devon's dad, we gave him encouragement. But he's also surrounded about players that played at this level. The Grant Simpsons were here. You know, the Charlie Lospers were here. Cameron Carolison is in that region where he comes from. So Kendrick is surrounded by so many influential dart players that it was just meant for him to be successful. And the fact that he stuck with, I mean, he tried to go play in his association and they rejected him because he's here. That's how ugly it has become in South Africa in the dart scene. But Kendrick has endured, and I can remember we played in the semi-finals of the World Cup qualifier, and he did very well in there. He didn't win through, but he stuck with it. You know, he won the PDC Youth Cup qualifier for Africa, so he's coming up for that in October, I think. And now this is happening to him, and I think Kendrick is going to be the youngest African player, while I'm the eldest. And if we shave his head bald and put him next to Devon and I and George, we'll be we'll be big brothers and little brothers. Kendrick, we're gonna shave your head bald because we'll call you Mini Me. So he will come here out of his township with the support that he got from George, Devon's dad, and Nicole and everybody. in that Cape region, in that franchise of the Wizards. He's got no excuse not to be successful.
And just finally, if we were sat here in 10 years' time in these seats, where would you like to see the progression of darts in Africa?
I would have more people, more players competing at this level. Mm-hmm. If I look at orders of merit, I see the other day on Facebook, they says 11 different nationalities are now in the PDC, and there's the Netherlands, and there's Belgians, and I want to see Africa in there. And I think Devon has done a good job so far, but 1 out of 5,000, I think there's still 5,000 players, maybe more now with us having a development program. Mm-hmm. It's not a good ratio to have. I would want to see more players competing at this level. I want to see PDC reaching out more and promoting the game in South Africa specific as our base, and in the rest of Africa. I would see more spots for Africa and not just one. There's 54 countries in Africa, man.
1.6 billion people.
Hey, you done your research, eh?
Oh, yeah.
A lot of Africans. So there is a lot of opportunity for us to grow. We just need the investment in that, personal investment, help from the PDC to help us grow, help us to help ourselves, and not just a handout, because I believe if you give seeds, you need to plant it, as many as you can. Give some to the birds, and some will be in the ground, it will grow. And I think I would see much greater amount of players that will be world beaters. We came very close. What is keeping us behind is just the regular play, the regular competition, and the opportunity to play on stages like this. I think once we get used to that, we're going to fly as Africa and not just as South Africa.
Well, Simon, it's been great talking to you. Thank you so much for your time. The work you're doing is absolutely superb. It's always a pleasure to have you here at the MODUS Super Series. Well, the latest edition of Tungsten Talk with Simon Adams, a real trailblazer of darts in Africa.
The plan was, if nothing wasn't go to plan, we would have just went back to the lives that we had. Oh, you're running around like a madman, and never seen you so happy. I was like, what? I got back to the room and I was so furious. I was like, how does this, oh mate, I wasn't happy. She goes, you wouldn't be ready for it. And, I was like, what? Hurt me a little. That's really early for a lot of people, isn't it? 9 a.m. You know what I mean? I didn't grab any of Kyle's stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
I'm sure there's a lot of people actually wondering what your handicap is in golf, if you want to.
Oh, there we go.
Sometimes I feel like I get more lucky if I wear my lucky trousers.
Yeah, I was gaining like 10,000 subs a month in lockdown.
I got picked on for being different, but when I played darts, I was allowed to be me.
Like, oh, you're running around like a madman, and never seen you so happy. I was like, what?
I did actually give him a little bit of advice. Can you remember what I said, Mason?
So stop moving your body.
No, said stop missing.
Yeah.
I'm not going to actually. I'll put it there later. I'll end up pulling it off the wall. I told you.